Hello, welcome to episode 165 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1,000 more movies you must see before you die, 1975, I think. Dog Day Afternoon, directed by Sidney Lumet. My instinct is to say Lumet, but I'm pretty sure it's Lumet. And this is a film I've wanted to see for so many years, ever since I heard the story, and that it was an Al Pacino film, and that it was a classic from the 70s. I wanted to see it. The stars just never aligned, and last week I had a tooth removed and I was miserable. I was on the sofa and it was on Netflix and I thought, I'm going to watch it. I watched it. Spoilers, I loved it. I felt immediately disappointed that Connie hadn't watched it with me because I thought that she would really like it too. So a week later I watched it again with Connie, and I'm glad that I did because there were these little things that I just didn't even notice the first time around, so it was great for me to return to it. Just little tiny details like, oh, I didn't notice that part.
Some of them I pointed out, didn't I?
I can't remember offhand, but I just remember there's a few things that I just went completely over my head. And I think that's a key thing sometimes when you're watching a film. When you watch it a second time, for good or bad, you're going to get a different experience, I think. Because I think it's impossible for your brain to be focused on every single detail for 2 hours. So repeat viewings is always going to be different. Anyway, the story sees Al Pacino playing a guy named Sonny, and his partner Sal, played by John Cazale, who I think did 5 films, and all of them were either won the Oscar for Best Picture or were nominated. You know, just a really weird career. Obviously he died quite young, but was in all of these incredible films, and this was one of them. And there's these two guys, well it's kind of 3, but for the most part it's these 2 guys who go to a bank in Brooklyn and they attempt to rob it. And the whole movie is them inside this bank, and the police turn up, they're outside, and it's this hostage situation. It's a true story that happened in 1972, I believe. And that's the film. What do you think of it? To throw you right in there with the
I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It was entertaining. It was surprising because sometimes I forgot it was a true story and stuff, but really thinking about it being a true story, it was really interesting how the crowd outside were reacting to the robbery itself, or to the guy who Al Pacino played.
Yeah, Sonny.
I don't know what to say. I enjoyed the acting, I liked the scenario, I liked the story, I liked the all the shit that went down, kind of, you know? And how the hostages ended up acting and so on.
Yeah.
And yeah, something was surprising as well, like made me go as well. And,
okay.
I'm sure you know what part that was.
I'm not sure what part that is. We'll have to do a little bit of a spoiler talk. So, yeah, it's safe to say I was very disappointed in Connie's reaction to the film. I thought she would get it like in the way that I got it, and just thought it was, you know, incredible, because that's what I thought. I loved this film. I loved how it was funny. I wasn't expecting that too much, but it wasn't funny in a let's make this a comedy. It was a funny out of the situation, the botched robbery, and the characterization of Sonny, Sal, but mainly Al Pacino. I mean, he's the one who holds this whole film together because it's all about him. You know, they're there to rob money because of him. You know, he's the one who's leading it. You know, John Cazale is great, you know, but his character Sal is very much on the sidelines in a way. But he's a very important part of the story because he's the one who's kind of holding the fort the whole time. Because Pacino, Sonny, is going outside talking to the cops and kind of fielding requests and demands and things like that, and shouting at the crowd outside, because obviously a big crowd of public turn up, and the news reporters and everything, cops, FBI, everything. Whereas Sal is always inside with the gun. You know, kind of that's their key to not get shot on sight, is that they've got these 8 people inside. What's really entertaining for the film, I don't know how the true story played out, was how the people inside the bank obviously initially are terrified, but as time goes on they kind of, it's almost like they form a little family and they kind of just get on with it. But I liked how towards the end of the film that there's kind of these little lines in there that say, like, you know, like the manager of the bank, he says to Sonny, don't you think like you're some kind of angel of human kindness or anything. So they kind of, everyone in the bank, include the Sonny and Sal and the people who've held hostage, they kind of form a bit of what's the word? I wouldn't say friendship, I wouldn't say bond, but they form an understanding. There is a bond, but there's an understanding between them, where they all know that they're just trying to get out of this situation, but it's a tricky one to get out of. I loved the character, I believe his name was Moretti, played by Charles Durning, who's the cop who kind of first starts negotiating with Sonny. And there's this incredible scene where he's outside in the street and he's shouting at Sonny, and there's a bit of confusion at the beginning when they first make contact, and everything's going crazy. People are pulling their guns out, and Moretti is just screaming at Pacino, but like his voice is cracking and he's like saying the wrong things. He's like, oh, you're supposed to be a girl, a boy, like, and you can tell that it's actual messing up, but he just keeps rolling with the scene, and so it feels real, you know, it feels raw, and it feels like, fuck, what's gonna happen next, you know? And apparently this film was heavily improvised. I think that shows in a good way. There's just a lot of tension-filled moments, and then there's these smaller, quieter moments where they're just kind of waiting things out, and then the air conditioning gets turned off, and so they're all sweating and stuff. It's in the middle of the summer. I just loved all the details and the way that it does play out pretty much in one location, and the twist that happens in the middle of the film is really interesting to me, and maybe we'll talk about that in just a second. Anything else you think you could add about the film, thoughts-wise?
I like how when the police showed up and everything like that, and then they knew they were screwed, he kept saying to Sal, like, I'll get us out of this. But he also said the same thing to the hostages.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get us out of this, like, don't you worry, kind of, you know?
Right, yeah.
So it's almost like, oh, we're in this together, so. But I'm sure it was also like, don't get scared, I'm not going to shoot you just because we messed up.
Yeah.
It was never clear, as far as I noticed at least, how did the police get there? How were they?
Right, yeah, I think that the manager tipped them off, because they go back to a shot where he's on the phone and he's like, yeah, I'm going to have to call you back, when Sal pulls the gun out at the beginning. And I think that was maybe like a code word they had. Like if you're on the phone with someone at a bank and they say, hey, I'm going to have to call you back in a certain way or something. But no, then he burnt a notebook, and smoke came out.
Another guy came
right,
by,
so
and maybe he knew. Maybe there was a code between them.
Yeah, something
but
like that.
But I wish they would have let us know.
Yeah, I will say that, yeah.
Because that's an unanswered question.
Sure, yeah.
It's the only unanswered question.
It being a true story, it played out very much like you see in the film, although the actual Sonny, has said that a lot of it isn't how it actually went down. The only thing that he would say was really accurate was the betrayal of himself by Al Pacino, and another key character who comes into it in the middle of the film. But a lot of it, I mean, we looked at some of the news report from the actual time, which shows you some of the footage, and it looks quite similar to how the movie plays out in a way, even though there's only small glimpses on fuzzy, grainy old TV footage and stuff. And like you said, when the crowd comes in, the public, they start kind of rooting for Sonny, which is a really interesting twist.
They're like a fan club.
Right, and it's at a time in America where there was a lot of tension, you know, Vietnam and just the Attica prison incident where people were, you know, like that was something that was played into the story of this, where Sonny becomes almost an anti-hero. You know, even though he's a guy who's holding people hostage in a bank, the public are cheering for him, you know. And that's the point in the film where I thought, this is just incredible, this is so interesting and unique, and it was a true story. I think it says at the beginning this was based on a true story, and I thought it was just like a film thing, like it's not really a true story, they just put that there to kind of, I think they started doing that in films, like what you're about to see is a true story and it's just bullshit, but it very much was. The acting is phenomenal.
Al Pacino's great.
He's amazing.
But
like
the other guy, the cancer guy, he's great too.
The cancer guy, wow. Yeah, she says that.
That's all I know.
She says that because John Cazale, he died of lung cancer, and there's a part in Dog Day Afternoon where he says, I don't smoke because I don't want to get the cancer, and so it was kind of like, whoa, that's a bit of an interesting foreshadowing of a human life there. Pretty dark kind of coincidence there, but so that's why you called him the cancer guy.
Just because he died of cancer, not because of that scene.
Sure, yeah, obviously.
I could call him the bald guy, but... Yeah,
and he's great.
Sal.
And what I like about his character, well, again, it's a true story, but in the film, is that he's kind of the loose cannon, because I never feel like Sonny wanted to hurt anybody. Sal, I wasn't sure. He seemed like the loose cannon. Like he
said he was ready to do it
right,
if he had to.
He was ready to start throwing bodies at them.
He didn't look like he wanted to.
No,
but
that's true.
He seemed worried when he said when Sonny said we're gonna throw bodies out,
Right.
and it's like, and then he said, "'Cause I'll do it."
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, wow, he would, wouldn't he?
And you get these points where
he didn't want to go back to prison. He said.
Yeah, and he says like you told me, Sonny, that if we didn't get out of this, then we'd kill each other, right? And we need to stick to that. So you get a real sense of desperation from Sal, but like you say, it doesn't seem like he wants to do it, but he's ready to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And so he plays it so well. And also, there's a couple of moments where you kind of get a hint as to how maybe his intelligence is a little bit lacking, you know.
Sal.
Yeah. So it kind of again it throws into question, you know, just
I feel
what
like
he might
Sonny's
do at any point.
intelligence is.
Oh sure.
He doesn't seem like the sharpest knife.
Sure, but he seems a bit sharper than Sal, at least as far as the movie's concerned. So before we get into a bit of spoiler talk, overall, I think it's a fantastic film. And watching it twice in 1 week, which is something I very rarely do. Very rare for me to watch a film twice in 1 year, let alone 1 week, and I loved it. I think it's a great film. Just the characters, the performances, there isn't really a weak link there for me. I found it a fascinating story, told perfectly, and there's these tension-filled moments and moments where you just enjoy, you know, kind of the entertainment of the situation. You know, it is entertaining, and there's always something happening, even though it might feel like 2 hours inside this one bank. And it's not even really a big bank, it's just this one kind of room almost, this kind of one, well not, you know, there's a couple of rooms in there, but it's a fairly small confined space. And then the street outside and the police and stuff. I loved how it kept throwing to the police and, you know, just the different perspectives. You get to see some of his family and stuff, it goes back and forth. There's a meeting with his mother, he meets her in the street, and apparently that never happened, so that was something that the real guy said, you know, that wasn't true. But I can understand why they did it for the film. It, you know, it makes it a more kind of, I don't know, complete story. You get to see all these different parts of it, and I don't think he got to call his wife either in the true story. So, is it a film you should see before you die?
Yeah, based on the true story, I would say so.
Right. Yeah. Without the true story or not, I would say yeah, definitely. This is a new favorite of mine for sure. This is one I can definitely see myself going back to again and again. And like you say, Al Pacino, great. Like he's just the star of the show, and not in a bad way. Like he's one of the greats, and this might be.
And he's so young in it.
Yeah,
it's
this
so weird
might be my favorite Al Pacino performance. Maybe it's up there with Heat, and I'd need to see the Godfather films again. It's been a long time, but this I thought he was brilliant.
Oh, sorry, just thought of that.
I thought he was brilliant in the film, and a key part of that I think will be part of the spoiler talk. So let's talk some brief spoilers. Turns out that the character in the film and in real life was homosexual, Sonny. And they say, okay, we're bringing his wife in, and the car pulls up, and this guy gets dragged out in a dressing gown. It's like, what is going on? This is his wife. Well, yeah, he says that he's his wife. They had an official ceremony and everything. So you find out that Sonny.
But back then, gay people weren't allowed to get married, right?
Right. Yeah, and it was.
So how married were they?
I don't know. I'm not sure what the specifics and the technicalities, but you know, for all intents and purposes, they were in a relationship, and from what the film portrayed, a very tumultuous relationship. But nonetheless, that really makes it so much more interesting when you find out that he's gay, and you find out that the reason he's trying to steal this money is to give his boyfriend a sex change operation. And it just kind of twists the whole thing on its head, because for the first half of the film, you're thinking that it's just guys out for money, right?
Yeah.
And it's also mentioned that they were in Vietnam as well, and so
yeah.
that plays into the, you know, how someone could get down so low to do stuff like that. And the guy who plays Leon, the boyfriend, the wife, so to speak, is played by Chris Sarandon, who looks unrecognizable. Like I can see that it's him, but like looking at him in Princess Bride or Fright Night, like it just looks like a completely different person at times. And I thought he was brilliant. He got nominated for an Oscar, I think. And he's got a small role in the film, but I thought that it was a very memorable part.
He had a lot of lines for such a small role.
True, yeah. I mean, he has a very lengthy scene where they're on the phone together and stuff, and I thought that was a great scene. Loads of great scenes, like the scene at the end where Sonny is dictating his last will and testament, you know?
Yeah.
That was a fantastic scene. There's just so many great scenes. It's just a film made of great scenes, you know?
You can tell he really is a good guy. He was desperate.
Yeah. And that's what is conveyed, and that's what gets you really into the story, I think. If it was just like, you know, these two guys who went in there and had no no remorse or anything, no moral code. It wouldn't be as maybe it would be as entertaining, but it wouldn't be as gripping because you wouldn't care about them as much, I think. And then that final kind of the whole time they're building up, like, okay, we're gonna get a plane and fly off, and you're thinking, how far are they gonna really get? You know, obviously they're not gonna. I mean, do they get on the plane? Do they not? Like, so for me, those closing moments of the film were so tense, just the way that it played out and all the little different details, and then finally you have Sal getting shot in the head point blank by Bishop. Oh, okay, yeah.
I didn't expect it.
Yeah, and I love Lance Henriksen, but I'm always going to call him Bishop. So it was it's funny because the whole film I was like, that's Lance Henriksen, that's Lance Henriksen. And towards the end of the film I thought, wow, he had a great role, you know. But he finally gets some lines right at the very end at the pivotal moment where he drives the car.
I do remember in, like, maybe in the middle of the movie, one of the FBI or police people told Sonny that, don't worry about Sal, we're going to take care of Sal.
Yep. Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean you're gonna take care of him? All right, it's the guy who came inside and then he walked him out again.
The FBI agent.
Yes, and Sal came over and was like, what did he say? Oh no, he was just telling me about the car and stuff, you know?
Yeah, I don't think Sonny ever fully bought into that, but it was playing with his head a little bit, and I think the police obviously saw, as far as the film's concerned, that Sal was the loose cannon of the duo, perhaps. I will say that I prefer the dynamic between Sonny and Moretti, the first cop who starts negotiating with him. He kind of fades away towards the end, and we get to the FBI. It feels like that's what would happen in a true situation, but I love the dynamic between those two in the first half of the film.
Yeah, I was sad when Moretti was out of
the equation. Because he was so great, and they had such a fun kind of bouncing off each other thing, like shouting at each other, but it just really worked and flowed and everything. And
like when he got tackled to the ground by that Spanish guy or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, can I look? Oh,
checking it out.
Yeah, checking it out like a friend would.
Yeah, and that's when it gets you realize how ridiculous it is when Sonny's just walking around this open street with hundreds of police officers pointing their guns at him, and they can't do anything because of the situation. It's just so bizarre, and yet it's true. You know, it's just truth can be stranger than fiction sometimes. But that's kind of the way that it was, I suppose. These days they probably have like highly trained snipers ready to like just take them out straight away. Anyway, not much more to add on it, I don't think. I thought it was a great film. Oh, and in the true story, or in the film I should say, Sonny says in his will that he dictates. He says that leave my life insurance or some of it to Leon to get the sex change operation that he wants. Now, obviously, he didn't get killed. He survived, and in real life, he was paid, I think, $7,500, something in that figure, for the rights for them to make the movie of his story. And so that's how he got the money to get the sex change operation for his, you know, quote unquote wife.
So he got it.
Yeah. So I don't think his name was Leon or her name was Leon, but he did. You know, that part was true, and he did get the money for to get the operation done in real life that way. So.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Great film. Loved it.
So I find it interesting as well because Leon kept saying that he was trying to get away from him.
Yeah, like
I didn't want to be with him.
Like I said, it's at least as far as the film portrayed, it felt like a tumultuous relationship, like a love-hate kind of thing, where it's very passion-filled and you know, testy and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. All right, so that's our thoughts on Dog Day Afternoon. I wish you enjoyed it a bit more, but I know that you did enjoy it. I'm just saying.
I enjoyed it a lot. But I can't love everything.
Of course,
with all of my being.
Well, I'm glad that you're honest about it as well. But for me, it's definitely like, a new favorite. Really, really loved it, and yeah. So thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts on the film down below, and we'll see you in the next one.